In the past, historically, Saudi Arabia has given millions and millions of dollars to build mosques around the world. And in many of those cases, what they've asked in return is the acceptance of a Wahhabi-oriented imam in that mosque. Now, if this mosque here was supported by the Saudi government, I too would have some concern. But my understanding is that this was supported by contributors who, for whatever reason, either they've lived in Boston or had connections with Boston or believe Boston is a place where the Muslim community should flourish. But I'm not concerned that there's going to be a demand made by the Saudis that somehow the Islam taught in Boston has to be of that extreme nature.
I've heard propounded by people in public meetings. And that is the concept, they propound a concept called taqiyya, which is a concept in Islam that means, in effect, deception. I knew nothing about this when I first heard it. But the speaker said all Muslims, not just some Muslims, but by definition all Muslims, almost because of a religious imperative, a religious mandate, indulge in taqiyya, meaning they can deceive a non-Muslim for the purpose of advancing jihad. So there is no such thing as a moderate Muslim. There is no such thing as a Muslim telling you the truth. They're deceiving you. This was in front of 400 people in an official meeting, an official setting. I was really disturbed. And ironically, a few days later, we had our Muslim-Jewish dialogue, and I said, what, for heaven's sake, is this thing called taqiyya? And they looked at me and they said, well, first of all, it's a Shiite term. There are only 15% of all Muslims are Shiites. Many, many Sunnis have never even heard the term. Secondly, what it really means is that a Shiite, when in danger of losing his or her life or the lives of their family, is allowed to practice deception by telling people they're not really Shiites in order to save their lives. Wow, it's quite a difference from what I heard a speaker saying to 400 people. Now, this is scary. This is frightening, because this is how prejudice and stereotyping and fear and anger begins to circulate in an entire community.
I'm concerned about the extent to which religious voices contribute to intolerance, to the kind of pathological way we deal with the otherness of the other. A basic challenge for me is to see whether we can find a way to make religious voices contribute to the healing of a torn and broken world, rather than adding fire to the flames of hatred and intolerance.
All these suspicions can be dispelled, I think, by an open-door policy on the part of a mosque, and vice versa with synagogues, inviting Muslims into synagogues.
Well, I would say that it takes two to tango. So I think from the point of view of the non-Muslim community, there has to be an openness to understand that the Muslim community is a large, significant community, represents one of the important religious traditions and cultural traditions, and it behooves them to get to know both the tradition and to get to know the people, and that is the Muslim community. I would hope, when I say it takes two to tango, that the Muslim community also, which has been somewhat shy, will do more to reach out and to participate and be more open to sharing its own perspectives.
I don't see them as being here to create adversarial relationships. I don't think they're here to subjugate the Jews and the Christians and to make Islam the true faith. I believe that's true of some extremism within Islam, absolutely. There's no question. I mean, I'm not naive in the sense I understand that there is real enmity out there in the world. I know there is danger, but my feeling has been, I think it's a feeling that many of the Jewish community share. If we can't talk to our Muslim neighbors in Boston, and how are we able to have Muslim Jews talk to each other anywhere?
Tolerance, which is certainly better than being intolerant, is in its own way is a horrible word. and I look at the other person and I judge, I'm going to tolerate you, I'm not going to tolerate you, etc. Obviously, civility and tolerance is better than intolerance and hate, but it really is a model of the world which is extraordinarily ugly, because it relegates to each of us the position that we're going to judge the legitimacy or the acceptability of the other. When I talk about pluralism, pluralism is a point of view which says that diversity is an asset rather than a liability. It's pluralism which says that I welcome difference and I can learn from difference, I can be enhanced by difference.
And that's the beauty of dialogue. You achieve a sense of rapport and comfort and familiarity, so that when you reach a point of intense argument, it doesn't degenerate into bitterness and antipathy, but rather a kind of healthy airing of dissimilar views. My experience of the Muslim community is that these are warm and wonderful people trying in every imaginable way to enter into the mainstream of American life, people with the same values that we certainly have in the Jewish community, people who are as horrified by the extremists in their own community as non-Muslims are, people who wish to see, you know, the elimination of violent extremism in every imaginable way. These are the people that I've experienced. Are they as a community dangerous? Absolutely not, of course not. And by the way, every comparative analysis of Muslim populations in the Western world clearly indicates that American Muslims are the most assimilable, the most adoptable to American mainstream values in life.
I'm hoping that this new mosque will be an important institution, not only for the Muslim community, but will contribute to the quality of interreligious relationships, and that Muslim participants will become even more a part of interreligious conversations and reflections. And I look forward to working with the Muslim and Christian community in these kinds of endeavors.
People in general have an extraordinary lack of information about Islam. I'm no different. Since the dialogue began, I have educated myself to a significant extent. It takes a lot of effort. It's all I can do to understand my own religion, Judaism, and now I'm trying to understand Islam. So a mosque can be enormously helpful by inviting members of the general community into the mosque.
Diversity should be viewed not as a challenge or as a problem, as it often is, but should be viewed as a source of enhancement of the human experience. That is, the fact that we're different from one another shouldn't be a challenge for us to transform the other into a copy of ourselves or to exclude the other, but to be a kind of way of enrichment of our own lives. So all the things that we do in interreligious relationships is to try to share perspectives and to be open to the sense that the experience that other people have in navigating the strange business of being alive